guys, here from the sketching pad with our tutorial on our sunset over the water. We're gonna go over the tools you're gonna need for this one. So you're gonna need your brushes. So you're gonna do a large brush and your little detail brush. You're gonna need paint. You're gonna need some white, some red, some yellow, some black, and some orange. I already opened them so that you wouldn't have to watch me struggle to do that. With this painting, I'm not gonna pre-sketch anything because it's a really simple one, so you don't really need to. So we're gonna start. When we start with this, we start with the sun first and work our way out, because you wanna start with your lighter part first and go out to your darker parts. So I'm gonna start with dipping into some of my white and a little bit of my orange, and I'm gonna decide where my sun's gonna be, and it's pretty much over here, maybe 2 inches down from the side, and all you do is start with a circle. So you're gonna paint in your circle. Now I'm gonna make mine a little bigger and a little lighter because I got it a little dark. To make anything lighter, you just add more white. To make anything darker, you just add more color, which you'll see in a minute. So I got my circle for my sun. Now you're working with acrylic paint, so if you do something you don't like, it's really easy to cover up after it's dried. It's really easy to layer. All right, so I've got my sun circle in, right? And you notice how I'm doing little half moon on either sides to get my circle. Then I'm gonna start dipping in to more orange. So now that's a lot darker than I want, so I'm just gonna dip into my white as well. It's a lot of back and forth between your white and your orange. And again, my sun kind of disappeared, so I can go back and make that bigger when the paint is kind of dried a little bit. So you're pretty much just going in a circle around your sun circle. And as you're going out, you want to use more orange and less white. Now you notice I'm not cleaning or rinsing my brush in between. I'm dipping into my white and my orange. You don't need to do that because water is not acrylic paint's friend. So if you go to rinse your brush, you need to make sure you dry it super well. So you see I went back and kind of blended in my sun a little bit. Now, you can't see a sun like you can here. So what I'll do is after this is all dried, I'll go back and really paint in where my sun's gonna be. Anyway, so as you're going out, just keep adding more orange. And I'm just following my circle like this. If you get any little blank spots like this that you see your canvas on through, just add more paint. Now, if you don't like it as dark as this, because our sun or our sky over here isn't quite this dark, add just a little bit of white. You can blend in some white to mute down or lighten the orange. It's a lot of back and forth between your white and your orange at this point. And we want to go all the way to the ends of our canvas. You can also, if you want, throw in a little bit of yellow into your sky. I'm not going to, but it is there for you to do that. All right, so I'm gonna speed up and go a little faster because all you're doing is back and forth between your orange and your white. right, and you saw how I put like most of my orange up in here, and then I'm going back with a little bit of white and kind of blending it in. The trick to get your blendy going on is you've got to have wet paint on your canvas and wet paint on your brush. And all you're doing is going back and forth in your little half circle situation around your sun. And if you get anything too light, just add some more color to it. All right, now I've gone over halfway down my canvas. So this is kind of where I'm going to start thinking about my water. I'm not going to worry about the hill. The great thing about black paint is it covers everything. So it'll be able to go over your background. I'm going to bring my sky down a little further. Before I start working on the water. And if you're really having to struggle to scrape the paint around, it just means pick up a little more paint. That. Now, I'm gonna go back in here. I'm gonna do some white for my half moon, or not my half moon, wrong painting, for my sun. Let's see how I've got it nice and bright now. And if you get it too white, just add a tiny bit of orange to it. Like that. So it's a little bigger than here, but that's okay. Now, I can start doing my water because I've got my sky all filled in, almost all the way down. Say about 2 inches-ish, that-ish amount. Now, for the water, you're gonna do pretty much the same thing you did on the sun, except you're going back and forth. And you're dipping into your orange and a little bit of red. So that's what we're gonna start with on the water. Now, one thing, if you have too much white in your brush from the sky, you'll need to kind of rinse it out because red and white make pink. So unless you want a pink ocean, and that's totally fine. You can have a pink ocean. But this one's mostly the red and orange. We're gonna go back and add some highlights to it as well, but we're gonna do this part first. Now, to get that nice straight line, you just put your paint on your brush, you lay it down kind of flat, and you go straight across, as straight as you possibly can. Right? So, we've got our ocean filled in, and again, don't worry about this part because that's where our hill's gonna go, so it's gonna cover it. Now, to get some of these little highlights in here, I'm gonna dip into my orange a little bit, into a little bit of my white. I'm gonna do just some little streaks across. Ooh, I don't have enough white. So see how those have gotten pretty bright? You can either just keep streaking them across and it'll blend into your background or your ocean color, remember, because if you have wet paint here, the wet paint on your brush is gonna blend in. I'm just doing little short dashy strokes almost. kind of like that. All right, so that is our background. Now, we gotta wait for it to kind of dry a little bit. If you have permission from your mom or your dad or whoever you're with, you can take a blow dryer and you can kind of blow dry it so you don't have to sit here and wait for it to dry. And that is exactly what I'm going to do, so I'll be back. All right, so now that your background is dry, we're gonna put in our hill. Now you can either use your big brush for this or your little brush for it. It doesn't matter if you want to kind of draw it on with your little brush and then fill it in with your big brush. That is fine. I'm going to use just my big brush because that's what I'm used to. And you're going to dip into your black and you're going to decide where you want your hill to start, and it's just going to curve down into the ocean. I kind of start it right under where my sun is, but over here in the corner. And all we're gonna do is a little curve kind of down towards the corner. I went a little further than our sample, but that's okay. Right, so we got our hill shape, and then from there you just fill it in. See how my black is covering up my orange sky perfectly fine. So you're just gonna fill in your hill. Remember to fill up any little either orange spots or white spots of your canvas, because we don't want to see any of our canvas. So we've got our hill filled in. Now we're gonna do our little grasses, right? So that, I would recommend for y'all to use your little brush. That's gonna be easier for you. That way you won't get super big grass situations. And the grass is really easy. All you're doing is literally taking your brush and drawing lines, going up, crisscrossing, like that. We've got more grass up here than we do down here, so keep that in mind. Now, to get your little tails on the ends of them, see how they're kind of thinner? When you're painting, you're gonna start with more pressure, so you're pressing down on your brush more here, and then as you get to the end, you lift it up so you get those nice little tails. If you don't get the tails on the grass, it's totally fine. It'll still look like grass, I promise. You can have some longer, some shorter, doesn't really matter. And then you're gonna take them down the hill. And a lot of times what I do is I'll do like a V and then one in the middle, and that kind of looks like grass, but you can also do just random little dashes and just kind of make them more spread out as you get down the hill. Remember, it doesn't have to look exactly like the sample. Mine doesn't look exactly the same. It's close, but it's not exactly. Now, we gotta put our little flowers on there, on our seagrass. So, you're gonna pick some of your longer grasses. Now, if you need to make some of them longer, you absolutely can, just like I did. So you're gonna take your little brush, and all you're gonna do is tap in little clumps to make it look like you've got some seagrass. Look at there. You can have a lot of seagrass, you can have just a couple, it doesn't matter. It's your painting. I'm only gonna put a few on there and put a couple down here too. And you notice how I'm kind of making them a little bit thicker or wider down at the bottom and thinner at the top. So y'all keep that in mind when you're doing your little grasses or your flowers, whatever those are on there. All right, and there you go. You have got a beautiful sunset, water, hill, grass, beach situation. Hope you enjoyed.